Sorry. For sure. So when I see a button and it's like, no, we're gonna, especially when it's like, oh, like maybe you're not performing as well as you'd like to be, and we're running a training to help you perform better, and you don't show up. I'm like, I'm ruthless. Right. Cool. So guys, really quick for those that don't know me, Crystal, really good to see your face again. Colton, thanks for having me. Appreciate you. So my name is Jonathan Schmitz. I don't particularly care to talk about myself too much, but I think credibility is important. So I'll give you a little bit of my background. And then today we got a little bit of sales training for you guys. I think will help quite a bit, say as well. So really quick show of hands, who here has sales experience before pre-farmers? Okay. A little bit. Okay, cool. What were we doing for insurance?
So right for insurance, I was in healthcare.
Okay, cool. So like health insurance, things like that, or more on like healthcare services?
Yeah, services.
Okay, cool.
It's on ADT security.
Gotcha. Were you actually like door knocking, or are you running for like
door knocking?
I get it, man. After I sold Cutco, I started roofing door to door to become start my position. So a lot of hot hours. What about you, man?
Door to door for AT&T internet and cable.
Dude, those are okay. I'm sorry. Of all the industries that you can sell door to door in, that I think that is by far the toughest one. It's like it's the biggest grind, and like the commissions compared to what other people make in some other industries are not great. So I respect to you for running out and doing it, man. That is tough. I've got a buddy running a solar company right now, and he was telling me what some of their guys are making, and I was like, dude, if you're in door to door, freaking go do that stuff, because then I don't. That's the juice is worth the squeeze.
Definitely took a little bit to get going, but yeah, for sure. At first, I mean, like the whole first month, it was just like
it's hard.
Yeah, it was brutal.
I get it, man. I get it. Well, cool. So guys, my background, I come from the world of Cutco knives. Anybody here get like a vector marketing, thing? Have your friends going for the knife interview, do the knife thing in high school. Cool. So I did too. Worked my way through college with them. That's actually how Colton and I met. We played baseball together at Tarleton State. It took me about 4.5 years to sell my first $100,000 worth of product. For those of you who don't know, Cutco is really high-end American-made kitchen knives, $100 a knife, $1,000 plus knife sets. Our full kitchen package is like 10, 12 grand, right? Somewhere in there. So doing that, built a book of business primarily through referrals, and then eventually working trade shows and was trade show coordinator for Greater Houston. Left my last year of college baseball because I decided that I was done playing. I didn't want to go to school anymore because I already had my bachelor's, and was dating a girl that I thought I was going to marry, and that fell apart about 6 weeks after all that. So life was going this way, and then hard right into direct sales and doing the crazy thing. By the time I left, I was number 150 in company history out of over 2 million people to ever sell a Cutco knife, sold $1.3 million of knives direct to consumer, and then helped their trade team double in a couple of years. Fun fact, anyone here been to the rodeo at any point in time? Pretty easy standard question. I was part of the team that got Cutco into the rodeo and then had to teach people how to sell knives in their bylaws. It says there are no knives allowed on the show floor. So we sold $300,000 of product year one with no knives on hand, which is kind of wild to think about it. It's kind of crazy. So I share all that with you. The things I'm going to go over with you today, I think are designed to help, are things that are designed to help you perform at a higher level, and are going to help you increase your sales if you decide to implement them, right? There's no magic bullet in sales. Everybody here, especially those of you that knocked doors before, there's no magic bullet. There's no magic thing. There are things that can make you more efficient, help you close at a higher level, help you get more productivity out of the time you're putting in. But at the end of the day, it only works if you work it. What I can promise you is that if you take what we're going over today and you implement it at a very high level and start to practice this daily, I guarantee you it'll make a difference in your sales. 100% on that. I promise you it will. That's right if you're not doing that. So, everybody good with that? Everybody like making more money?
I just want to touch on that real quick a bit. You guys are selling a product people have to have, literally by law. This dude sold a shit ton of them. So just keep that in mind when you're talking to people. Like, there's people out there buying stuff that they don't even have to have. I mean, I guess you gotta have knives, but Walmart compared to something that's that high end, and they sell it constantly, or he sold it constantly. So that's what you got to keep in mind too when you're talking to people. Like, this is a product they need. So keep that in mind.
Thanks, man. And, another thing too, the last time we ran a training like this, we went to go grab lunch, and by the time we came back to the office, someone had closed a cold lead. Right? Yeah. So it's implementable, and you can work on it quickly, right? So there's 3 things that we're going to cover today, right? So the first one, I feel like I'm about to knock your first one is pre-frames. Basically, this is at its core how to set up a conversation, how to set proper expectations for you and the client to make sure that it's going to eliminate objections for you on the front end rather than the back. When you handle objections, we want to handle it from a position of strength rather than a position of being reactive. So right now, we'll get stuff here. to handling objections. Right. Now, all these topics are things I could literally go, I mean, a full day one of these if we went really, really deep. I've got about 45 minutes. And so I'm really, really good at taking complex things and making them simple. I'm going to work really, really fast. And the takeaways that y'all are going to have by the end of today, you're going to have specific structures and even some minor scripting as well. You can take and start implementing even this afternoon as soon as we're done, right? So handling objections. And then 3, everyone's favorite F word in sales, follow up, right? Mine was definitely fuck. Sorry. I say, right? But follow up. And this, anybody run into this before? Someone doesn't buy on the phone there immediately, right? And all of a sudden you're getting this like this follow-up cycle, or how, oh yeah, call me next week. Okay, call them next week. Oh yeah, no, I'm busy today. Call me on Friday, right? Call them on Friday. Okay, no, we send the same text freaking 4 times in a row, get left on red every single time. Anybody ever been there? Me too. It sucks. I'll show you how to actually avoid that when we package all these things here together. Okay. Cool. So get out of the way there. Get my mug out of your way there, Colton.
Oh no, I'll take it. It's a story. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Tag me in it so I can repost it, and you'll save me that. You'll save me the social media post later. All right. So let's talk about pre-frames. Right? What are they? Framing the conversation for success from the very first iteration or conversation that you have with somebody. Right? One thing that's really important to understand and remember, that people feel in control when they know what's coming next, even if they have no control over what comes next. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that again. People feel in control when they know what's coming next, even if they have no control over what does come next, right? So an example of this, you get a call, you get on the phone with somebody to give them a quote, they sent you the information, now you call and go to quote with them. Pretty standard in Nails industry, right? Cool. Something as simple as setting up the conversation saying, hey, Dion, you know, really, I've got all the numbers and information here with you. Just really quick, just to kind of know what to expect from this call today. I'm going to go everything with you. I'm going to say both your individual quotes as well as if you were to bundle and how much you'd save if you were to do that. Some of the advantages that you get with working with farmers or other insurance agencies as well. I'll answer any questions that you have. And the only thing that I ask in return is that by the end of our call today, I give you enough information. And if you feel comfortable, that would give me the courtesy of a yes or a no by the end of our conversation. Does that sound fair? Yeah. Great, right? Now, I've never sold insurance in my life. I don't know what the differences are. I just know that Farmers, when I was selling roofing for a little bit, was a good company to work with. I don't know anything else about it. But if you went into that conversation with every single one of your prospects, how do you think they would feel about the entire interaction? Probably a lot more confident through things, right? They feel very comfortable. Hey, this is what's happening here, right? And if they're not going to buy on that phone call, they're not going to give you a yes or a no, they're going to tell you at the beginning of the call, which means that you don't have to go through that awkward phase of trying to close somebody that's not ready to be closed, right? You never want to ask for the order until your prospect is ready to say yes, right? If at all possible. Then that. Has anybody ever done that before? You crush the presentation, you get in here like, yeah, I'm going to think about it, right? I'm like, God dang, what is there to think about? Me? It's insurance, man. You got to get it from somebody. Why are you not buying it from me? Right? Then that. So pre-frames, can we set the conversation up for success? Can we tell them out the gate, hey, this is exactly what's going to happen. Here's what I'm going to do. And then it's okay to even ask for a commitment on their part at the very end. The only thing I ask in return for doing all this for you for free is that you just give me the courtesy of a yes or a no by the end of our conversation. Does that sound fair? Right? That's a great tie-down question as well, by the way. So, Golden, I'm gonna like rescrew this in for you at some point. Like I'm back in college riding a friend's like beat up car or something like that. Just like listen to music.
You're good.
Anyway, Colton lets me come in and speak to you guys, and I just sit here and just trash it. So, anyway, right? So hey, sound fair? Great question to ask at the end of that, right? Within this here, people are naturally wired to give whenever they receive something, right? Think about this. It's the same as like when you show up to a holiday party or something like that. Someone brings a gift, you naturally want to give something in exchange, or you're putting on the party, so you're giving the gift of this experience. That's why people show up with something in exchange there, right? It's the way that we're inherently wired. So something like a question like this at the end of whatever it is you're asking them to do, asking them to commit to, can set you up for later in the conversation saying, hey, does that sound fair? Yes, it sounds fair. Meaning if they do not hold to whatever we decided, because we said this sounds fair, you need all the information you need to make a decision by the end of our call. Does that sound fair? Yes. If they don't make a decision, they are also now inherently being unfair. Does that make sense? Right? And people, it's subconscious and it's psychological, but it works. Right? Great ways to lead into conversations like that. Right? Just so you know what to expect from me today. It's one of my favorites, right? It sets you up as the authority and the person controlling the conversation. It also is very, it's just a common courtesy. Hey, you don't know what this thing is. We're going to get a call to go over this. Okay, cool. Yeah, man. So, hey, here's the price. Here's the insurance. Here's what it covers. Okay, great. We just went over it, right? That's not the experience you want your clients to have, because that sets you up for, yeah, I'm good, or yeah, let's do it, or no, I'm cool on the whole thing. It doesn't give you any wiggle room within the whole thing there, right? Just so you know what to expect from me today. Today, we're going to cover my intention with this conversation is, oh, by the way, all this is being recorded. So if there's something that you'd like me to repeat, just raise your hand, let me know. Also, there'll be a recording if you want to go back and review this on your own. More than happy to do that with you guys. By the end of this, I want you to, we should be at XYZ should be happening, right? By the end of this conversation, my goal is that you have enough information to make an informed decision. I just ask for the courtesy of a yes or a no, right? Whatever that is. By the way, a lot of salespeople view no as a bad thing. It's not. And we'll talk about this a little more with follow-up. I want a concrete yes or a concrete no with somebody. I'd much rather have no than maybe, 100%. If the answer is no, great. I know that I can cross you off the list. We don't ever have to do anything together anymore. I'm moving on to the next prospect. If it's, anybody ever had like a mega deal that's like out there just in the ethers, kind of like hanging out, don't know if you're going to get it, don't know if you're not. I hate that feeling. I'd much rather know that I didn't get it so I can go and focus my energy on something else, right? Because all that energy that you're wasting thinking about that, trying to, hey, what's going to happen here? How do I make this work? All of that can get redirected and refocused somewhere else, right? It's sales. You're going to hear no. It's a reality of the job, right? Especially door knocking, man. You're going to say literal doors slammed in your face in some cases, right? Getting yelled at. There's this one guy in San Antonio. He started like recording me and yelling at me for asking to do a roof inspection because somebody else told him he had like 1,000-year roof or some ridiculous metal roof. And he's like, there's no way they put it on there. And he's like trying to like Facebook Live me, but his camera's all pointing at the ground and stuff. Okay, whatever, dude, get out of here. Right now, ways you can use this, not just in sales. I'm gonna say, right, for those of you that have aspirations to open your own office one day, right? Very, very easy. You can have this in leadership conversations. Hey, my intention with our meeting today is to go over your numbers, make sure you're both on the same page, answer any questions you have, and then put a plan in place to make sure you feel really good about success path in front of you. Sound good? Okay, great, right? You can use this for those of you that I'm married currently. Well, I say currently, I am married, right? Sorry, that's not.
Don't let her see that part.
I know, yeah, exactly. But I am married. I'm gonna say, right, and this is something that I use even in my relationship, right? Hey, babe, just so you know what I'm doing today, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, and then after 7 o'clock tonight, I'm totally free. Whatever you want to do, I'm here for it, right? So later, if I'm in my office working or I'm on a call or something else is coming up and happening, I can literally turn and like, hey, baby, I love you, but I don't have time for that right now. I can talk today after 7, right? Whatever that looks like. Use this with friends, families, relationships, literally any form of communication that's out there that's beyond just a simple yes or no. Very basic exchange within things, right? This will set you up. This also will allow you to start handling objections before they actually come up, right? So we're gonna, first of all, I can go pretty fast sometimes. I understand that. So any questions on free frames, how to implement these, how to use this in your business? Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Those of you on Zoom, any questions on that one?
I do. I have one question. I'm trying to, we have a telemarketer in the office. How much of the pre-frame would you use as far as telemarketing to get a licensed producer to give them a call back and be able to be engaged in that first call and then that second attempt that they try to do?
That's a really great question. So what I would say use this in every interaction you possibly can. So for example, from the very first call, if they're talking with somebody, really, really quick rapport, and then just get right into, hey, so just, you know what to expect from me on the call today. I'm going to collect a little bit of information from you. From there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to run some numbers on our end, and then we'll just set a follow-up date by the end of the call, and then we'll have a time to go over all that together. Sound good? Okay, great, right? And then just immediately move into collecting their information, doing things there. It doesn't have to be anything that's super long or complex or drawn out in any capacity. It can be something as simple as, hey, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. Sound good? Okay, great, right? And then moving forward into whatever the next section is.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Very welcome. All right. I'm actually moving a little bit ahead of schedule right now, so that's ahead of pace, which is great because we'll have room for some Q&A and stuff here at the very end, right? Cool. So let's talk about handling objections, right? I would imagine that there's probably anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe even 10 common objections that people have whenever they're working with you here at Farmers, right? And you think about it, we all know that's not a real objection, that's a smokescreen objection. You don't need to think about getting insurance or not. You just find the person, you make a decision, you go do it, right? I would say talk with spouse is probably one that you guys deal with relatively consistently. Can I get another decision maker involved? Price is probably one that comes up relatively often. Farmers isn't cheap. Obviously, good things aren't cheap. Cheap things aren't good. Do you really expect top level service with cut rate insurance? No, right? And do you want to find that out when you're going through one of the worst possible things in your life, or do you want safety and security? Another side note that I don't have time to really dive into today, understand what you actually sell as an insurance agent. Insurance isn't sexy. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's not. People that underwrite insurance don't think insurance is sexy. It's boring, right? But it's one of those things that if you get it right, it's important to get it right, because when you need it, you really freaking need it. When a hailstorm comes and smashes your house and everything like that, you don't want to deal with an insurance company that sold you the cheapest possible policy. You got a $25,000 roof, an ACV policy that depreciated by 25 years or whatever it is, right? And a massive deductible on there, because they're going to hand you a check for $1,000 and say, cool, and now you're not insured until you get a $25,000 roof on your house, or something comparable at least. Why have I been paying all these premiums all these years, right? And I've watched people when I was working in roofing, and maybe no offense to Farmers or anybody else here, I have a really bad taste in my mouth from a lot of insurance companies. There's a lot of good people trying to do the right thing, and there's a lot of them that will do anything to save a buck at somebody else's expense. Watching old ladies almost in tears because they didn't know that they were underinsured. They didn't have things going for them, and having to figure this out now, right? Late in life, it's awful, right? So as an insurance agent, especially for a quality, reputable company, what do you actually sell? You don't sell home and auto insurance. You sell peace of mind. You sell security. You sell service and ease of use. You're more expensive than next quote. This quote that I got. I completely understand. Can I ask you a question? Aside from price, what's really important to you about your insurance?
What was that after you those first 3 things you said? You sell peace of mind,
Security.
Yeah.
Ease of use, service.
so
Yeah, that one, the ease of use, also with the like servicing. Yeah, I think that's like internet companies. They're calling away and hey, or 1-800 number. There's no one, personable to them, and it's not easy, by any means.
Security. What was it?
It's not like they can just text
Safety.
an agent asking for something. Like my cousin just texted me for her insurance card when she's another office. So yeah, I never break that news to her.
I'll say this too, being, it's weird because everyone told me before I got married that life just changes drastically when you get married. And obviously, of course, things are logically different. The way that I started making decisions completely changed. It was interesting. Like my single greatest fear is not that something happens to me, is that something happens to my wife and I can't provide for her. I can't help her. Right. And something like that. That is like that. If there's one thing that'll keep me up at night, if I go down that path, that'll mess me up for sure. So knowing that I have a quality insurance policy with someone that I can use whenever I need to, and I don't have to worry about that. That's one more thing I don't have to worry about doing. That's huge, right? You protect as best you can, and then at the end of the day, life's going to happen, right? You kind of weather the storm within that. But this is what you're actually selling as an insurance agent. Another pro tip: don't ever try to compete on price. I never want to sell a cut rate product. I never want to sell anything cheap. Why? Cheap things aren't good and good things aren't cheap. I don't want to have to look somebody in the eye after they're getting screwed by their adjuster on something else because I didn't do the right job or I couldn't sell them into the proper policy for them. Colton was telling me about somebody that we both knew from Tarleton that was their home insurance. They were underinsured by over $100,000 on their home.
That's what I just did today, Savannah's.
Right.
And they're covered with some random independent.
If they hadn't called him, how would they have found that out ever? What do people do with home insurance? Hey, I need 3 quotes. Okay, cool. Cheapest one. Let's do that. All right, we're good. Right. And you start looking at things. It's like, oh crap. What happens if a tornado levels their house? Right within that. Maybe they owe $350 on the note. they only get 290 out of the insurance claim minus their deductible. Now they got 50K they got to come up with and figure out. Or maybe they're just not going to rebuild the house as nice, right? That's not why they're paying their premiums. That's not why they do it. That's not why they go through you, right? These things are important.
That's
Right?
where you have to get it out of, sorry to cut in.
You're good.
You just have to get it out of their mind that they're just paying because they have to have it. It's absolutely vital to have it correctly for when something actually happens. Hopefully you never have a claim in your life. Chances of that are pretty slim. You know what I mean? Even if it's on the other side, like your house, you can control how you drive, you can't control other drivers. Your house, it is where it is. Hurricane comes through, hail, went, snowstorm a year ago, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's, and again, it's something that by law they have to have anyway, right? So when someone's trying to, like, it's interesting because you'll see people sometimes, there's cognitive dissonance. They say they want, when you think of like your experience with an insurance claim, do you want it to be complex or simple? Simple is probably where most people will go with that, right? Do you want good quality service or bad quality service? Good quality is probably, it feels good to work with your insurance company and know that I purchased a quality product, I get to use it now, right? Within that, if I have to, in that situation. So people will expect, I want things to be amazing, I want it to be good, I want them to pay right, pay well, pay quickly, handle everything from start to finish, and then I want to pay as little as possible for that service. Doesn't make sense. Always get what you pay for, right? So when it comes to handling these objections, if you know those top 5 to 10 objections that are going to come up, I would try to handle those as early as possible during your presentation, right? So on either on a first call, like you're talking about, Crystal, or a second call, right? Hey, just so you know, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the farmers. We really pride ourselves on our service, on how fast and how well we pay out. If you talk to any contractors in the area, they'll tell you that they usually enjoy working with us over any of the other bigger names we compete against. And you get me in your corner as well. I'm going to be there with you every step of the way. If something happens, I'm here to back you, right? Of course, as we all know in business, there's no way to provide really high quality first rates products and services at bottom dollar pricing. So these quotes are going to, I say that because these quotes may be a little bit more expensive than some other stuff that's out there. Here's why that's worth it. And here's why so many people choose to go with farmers. So quite frankly, Ms. Jones, if you're just looking for the lowest bottom dollar, just check the box and get out of here. I can tell you right now, we can just save the phone call because I'm not going to be that guy. I'm happy to show you our rates and just see if we're even in the ballpark. We're probably not going to be, and we're very proud of that. Right? And here's why. And sell them on those things that are coming up. So, but at the end, now here's the crazy thing. In some of those situations, you may be the same rate as somebody else. You may even be cheaper. And you just sold them on all the value you're going to provide and why they need to go with farmers. And you get to the back end of it and it's, oh, wait, this is the same as I was already paying, or this is less than I was already paying currently. Great. Let me see if we can even get that lower if we bundle home and auto together. Maybe throw a life insurance policy in there. If we can do other things and bundle, right? So what we're going for within this, I guess my point with handling objections is we can handle those out front and get in front of the thing and handle it from a position of strength. We're not going to get it on the back end when they're making a buying decision, right? Think of it this way. If you were going across town for a meeting, you got to drive to downtown Houston for a meeting, right? You get there, white shirt, you're walking in with your coffee, ready to go crush the day, right? And right as you're about to walk through the doorway into the conference room, someone bumps into you and you spill coffee all over your shirt. Big meeting, can't cancel it. You just got to roll. You got to roll with punches, do the best you can, right? If you walk in there and the very first thing that you say is, "Hey, I'm so sorry for my appearance. Somebody just bumped into me and spilled coffee, but I'm really excited to be here with you and share what I got." Do you think anybody in that room is going to raise their hand after that and be like, "Hey, you got some coffee on your shirt"? Okay, why?
Got out in front of it.
Exactly. We already addressed it. And the advantage of addressing it on our terms is that now we can control the narrative completely from there forward. All right. We're more expensive. Well, oh yeah, of course we're more expensive. Well, because we provide better quality or service. It's different if you frame it from the perspective of like, these rates may be a little higher than what you're used to seeing, and here's why. Versus like, hey, let's go over your rates today. That's 30% more expensive than the next guy. And it's like, oh crap, now I got an uphill battle I gotta fight. Because they already had that emotional reaction. They weren't prepared for that. We shocked them, and now we have to try. Their emotion just went here, which means their logic drops in proportion to that. So if we can get out in front of it and properly set those expectations, then even if we're much higher, much more expensive, we can still work with them within that. Make sense? Cool. By the way, people that have really nice things and really high-end things usually are very comfortable paying for, like they know this and they're very comfortable paying for this, right? Why would you have $1 million home and then have the cheapest possible insurance to go along with it, right? Or underinsured? Why would you buy a $100,000 boat, a $200,000 boat, get the cheapest possible insurance? You know, oh, we checked the box. It's like, that's great in the short term, but we're talking about $200,000 investment and you're saving a few $100s a year, if that. In proportion, does that seem to make any kind of sense? And it's okay to call people on this as well. Hey, you know, you're way more expensive than the next guy on my boat, on my nice car, on my home, on my whatever. It's like, okay, well, respectfully, sir, if the worst case scenario happened and something did happen to this, do you really would you feel confident working with someone that was absolute bottom dollar just trying to undercut everybody? Because here's the thing, insurance companies are in the business of taking in more than they pay out. Otherwise they go under, right? So if they have to take in more than they pay out, where do you think they cut corners? On their claims, right? If they're going to, one of the two things, you have to have higher premiums to offset these costs. People have to pay in more so we can pay more, or they pay less. And what do you think they're going to do on the other end? They're going to pay less. Do you really want to put yourself in a situation where you have a $200,000 boat and you're only willing to give 25 or 30 grand? No, me either. I would hate to see it as someone that hasn't met you before but cares about you. I'd really hate to see you be in that situation. Let's talk about what we can do for you, right? Again, we're using frames to reset the conversation, shift their perspective, and then we're getting out in front of the objections by handling them ahead of time. Makes sense.
That's it. I said it on the phone whenever I was just sales producer, because it makes it relatable too. It makes it a conversation. I used almost every sales pitch if I knew once we got to the price that we were starting to get to the point where they had told me or I knew we were going to be higher. Is you don't search cheapest lawyer, cheapest doctor, you know, you're paying for the cheapest insurance. That's probably something missing. There's probably something that's not correct right now. Yeah.
100%. And it's, you know, a great question to ask, Colton. I think you actually heard you say this one time. What's important when you're in discovery with this client and they're looking for a quote, right? There's two ways you can handle that call. You can just say, yeah, give me your information, I'll get it over to you, right? Or we can say, awesome. Out of curiosity, two really quick questions. One, obviously aside from what are you paying currently, but one, what's important to you aside from just the price on your insurance? Is service really important to you? Is peace of mind, national company? Like, tell me a little bit about what you want that experience to be like. And then two, if there was a picture perfect experience with insurance just overall, what would that look like for you?
What just came to mind for me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. Hi, everybody. What just came to mind for me was like how health insurance, a lot of times when we hear about that, like say someone asks you what type of insurance you have and you're like, oh, I have Medicaid, versus someone says, I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and you're like, oh, you have good insurance. And I know I've heard that so many times before, because you definitely want to have somebody, you can go to any PCP you want, you have more options. I come from the claims world. I used to be a claims adjuster with Geico. So I use a lot of anecdotes from my experiences there to really kind of curve the ball for me, because people don't know what they're paying for a good majority of the time.
100%.
Until it's too late.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Especially as until they're in the middle of the claim, and you're like, "Well, here's your coverage." Like, whoa, what do you mean this is my coverage, right? And it's like, well, I thought we did this. My agent said that, right? Hopefully, you guys are all being honest about things. But I've seen cases where an agent was just getting started. They needed to pay the bills. They did anything they could to get the signature, and then when they got the signature, 20 years later, 15 years later, that guy's either in insurance or in doing well, or he's out and doing something else. They are doing or in and doing well or out and doing something else. And their client is stuck left with a crappy policy they sold them 15 years ago. Right. And they didn't realize it because they just kept renewing, trying to do the right thing. And before you know it, they didn't count on that. They didn't add on the additional coverage for XYZ thing. And all of a sudden now that person's like, crap, now we're screwed. Right. And I have to figure it out. And it's really, again, it's hard to explain to a woman in her 70s, 80s, people on fixed income with a disability. You're gonna have to find a way to come up with $20,000. Right? It's rough. And that, okay, take out a loan. It's like, great. So their fixed income just got depreciated by whatever the loan payment is for the foreseeable future. Maybe they can sell the house as is, or if they live there for 30 years. Right? And I say this to be that's an excellent point, by the way. Thank you. I gotta say I appreciate it. It was Tiffany, you said, right? Tiff, thanks. I gotta say appreciate that. It's a very good point. But that's the reality of the product that you sell. It's a need, right? There's a reason it's required by law. People need to have this because so they don't get taken advantage of. You have a fiduciary duty to your clients to make sure you put them in the best possible situation.
Absolutely. You can't just hunt a sell. You're consultants again. You're not sellers. You're not producers. You're consultants.
And by the way, look at the different, look at the potential upside, like just in terms of like potential cost, like potential upside, potential downside. Potential upside is the difference of, you know, $100,000 or more depending on the client. If it's home, if a hurricane hits it, they don't have flood coverage or anything like that, right?
Right now,
Maybe-
it's nuts.
Exactly, it's insane. So if you can get those things right, the cost to the client might be what, a few $100 a year, maybe $1,000 a year total, $80 a month, $20 a week, right? To make sure they've got that peace of mind and that's going for them versus a cut rate insurance for them. So they're gonna say, hey, I want to spend $100 less per month total on the entire thing, right? To take a chance that if I ever do need this, it's, you know, I may not get what I need to. I may be cut by 30% on a massive deal. And that's the reason why insurance is necessary, because most people don't have enough to rebuild their house from the ground up just in savings, right? For liquid cash. Anyway, main key with handling objections, getting out in front of them, handling them from a position of strength. What I would really, really strongly recommend as an exercise for anyone on this call, make a list of your top 5 to 10 objections that you're gonna get, that you know are gonna come up, right? I would assume, let's just spitball these for a second. So price, right? So decision maker, spouse. What's some other ones that you guys get consistent? Not interested. Okay.
I'd say a lot of people get in their mind that it's time, like it's going to take 2 hours to talk.
What else?
Those are honestly, man, you'd be shocked how many is just the decision maker and money part with insurance.
Okay.
Um,
So here's a great way to use a pre-frame again, because Crystal, you were asking about this. If y'all are doing a 2-call close, right? You have 1 call to set things up, get information, and another call to actually close them and go over the quote, right? Hey, the last thing that I ask, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, last thing that I ask is that whenever we go over this information, just to be efficient with both of our time, that we have every person that would be involved in making a decision on that call. We just pick a time that works for both of you, right? So how does that work for the home usually? Do you usually make that decision by yourself? Does your spouse trust you? Do y'all usually make that this type of decision together? How does that work for you? Okay, great. Both of you, awesome. When's the time that both of you could be available for just 15 minutes to go over this together? Right? If we can set it up to get that decision maker in play there from the very beginning, then this shouldn't come up. And if that person isn't on the phone, I would just reschedule the damn call. That's just me. Right? Because what's gonna happen? You can, oh, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyway because I didn't schedule. Don't do that. You're gonna set yourself up for it, and they need to be at a certain emotional place to make that decision. Right? So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna try to raise their emotions and hope that they're gonna go over to their spouse and reiterate everything that I just told them at the same level that I did and convince their spouse and sell their spouse on it. Very unlikely that's gonna happen. Right? No matter how excited they are. And I've had people that I sold to, like, oh yeah, just everything's good. I'm like 99% in. I just got to make sure my spouse is cool with it. Great. Leave 2 hours later. Hey, sorry, she said no. Are you freaking kidding me? You were 99%, man. What happened here? Right? Because I made the mistake of not getting a decision maker involved in handling those objections. Because something as simple as, well, how does the claims process work? Right? Do they give you a phone number or anything? And maybe you forgot to go over that one piece. Maybe you didn't do that. Maybe it's not something you normally cover because you can Google it and find it online, right? But maybe that one, if any small objection comes up and the decision maker is not there and that person doesn't know the answer, their response isn't going to be, well, let me go find out. Most of the time it's going to be, actually, you're right. We just shouldn't do it. Let's do something else. Done. Your deal's dead when you could be the person that actually could be between them and having to rebuild everything from nothing. Right?
Another objection that we get, Jonathan, is especially on homes for renewals. When there's a mortgage company involved, and there are escrows in place, they usually, when we reach out to them, they usually want to wait until their renewal comes up. And that's whenever we ask for either, just a copy of their policy, because usually our replacement cost is way different from what they have. And then we're able to break that and bring them over. But I often get that on objections that they're wanting to wait towards renewal or based on billing dates. They also, like, if they just paid their premium for that month or for the year, their billing date is also sometimes a concern.
Yeah. That's a great question, right? So again, the way that I would probably, I'm just going to go off the cuff here. Waiting for a renewal what's the advantage in your eyes or in the company's eyes of them coming over earlier? And that's what I would really, whatever that is, I would sell hard on that, right? Because here's the reality is that if they've already spent the money, then the money's gone. It doesn't really matter if they need to get it again or not, at least in my opinion. It doesn't matter that I spent $50 on gas last week, right? Or $100 now actually, right? But I spent $100 on gas last week. I'm gonna have to get gas again at some point. So if I'm driving by a gas station right now, even if I'm at 3/4 of a tank and I see $1.99 for gas, it's cheaper, I'm gonna go in there and buy it no matter what, right? Especially when everything else is $4. If I see something that's if I just got an oil change, but there's some new technology that comes out where I don't have to wait until, every 5,000 miles, I can go every 25,000 miles. I'm probably just going to go ahead and go do that. And that's just me. I mean, so what I would do in that situation, your best bet is to sell on the value of them coming over, hit really hard on that. And then just ask them like, hey, what is it you value about your insurance? Great. Do you feel like you're currently getting that where you're at? Create an emotional gap, between where they want to be and where they are now. And then your product or service creates the bridge that goes over that gap.
Another good response I've used before, Crystal. Can you hear me, Crystal?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I've used this before and won over the exact same situation. Literally my response, I think it happened 3 different times, where the last thing I want to do is have this where we know you're ready to go with farmers and you're set, we're better protection. And then we wait for that renewal and something happens in between now and then and they don't cover you correctly. And all 3 of them bounced at that, like almost immediately. Like, yeah, you're right. Now that you're saying that, like you put that doubt, that worry.
Mm-hmm. Which is true though, right? Like if it's auto insurance, like, and they've got cut rate, whatever, they want to go with farmers instead. It's like, why, if you've made the decision that you want better insurance, why would you settle for having 6 months of crappy insurance to get to good insurance? Right? We don't know what things are happening.
Yeah, would you say, for example, in the pre-frame for that specific type of phone call, would you say saying, hey, I've noticed you're underinsured when it comes to your home? Would you say that in the pre-frame and somehow leading that into the conversation? Or would you say that throughout the while you're explaining the policy?
I would probably frame the conversation of here's what's going to happen. And then you can actually use that same piece again, so if I were in that situation, hey, here's what to expect from me. Does that sound fair? Okay, great. So by the way, just to kind of start off here, I actually noticed that you were pretty severely underinsured. Here's what I'm saying. Here's the gap. And so because of that, just to let you know, our rates may be a little bit higher than what you're used to seeing, because we're comparing apples and oranges right now. Here's what you have. Here's what you're insured for. See this gap? Okay, great. Here's what we're doing and making sure you are adequately covered. And by the way, we're not just covering you better and adequately. We're now making sure that you're going to get top rate, not just are you getting adequately covered. Now it's top rate service, top rate peace of mind. We're easy to work with. Here's why people love using us, etc. Right? Because they're going to be more expensive regardless. Even if they go back to that same company and say up my coverage, they're going to pay more no matter what.
Yeah.
Like period. Right? And so it almost sets you up to like, of course we're more expensive because we are comparing apples and oranges here, and here's why. Right? And if you can do that, it also puts a lot of doubt in their mind that they're a former company or whoever that agent was. Like if they messed up once on that and you called them on it, then it's like, well, why would I go back to the person that messed the thing up? My realtor on my house almost had to sue and almost lost like $5,000 in earnest money on the whole thing. Like I'm not using that guy again for a real estate transaction ever. Right? Because he messed up on me the first time. Same thing with their insurance. If they didn't adequately cover them or they did whatever they could to get a sale. So it builds a lot of trust in you as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, totally makes sense.
Yeah. Right. Not interested. You can handle this one pretty easily. Hey, Ms. Jones, I understand that, thanks for taking the time on this one today. I know insurance isn't super sexy. I know it's not something that people like stay awake at night thinking about. Here's why it's really important though. Boom, boom, boom. Right. Here's some scenarios that most people don't think about when they think about insurance. Would be a great way to put that, right? I don't have the time to do this. Set it in a pre-frame on that first call when you first tell them, right? Hey, all we need to do really on our end is set another time to go over this together. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. It's super quick. The only thing we ask is just if there's a decision maker present. So how does that normally work in y'all's family? Is usually 2 of you together, just you, just them? How does that work? Right, within things there. Okay, great. And then at the end of the call, you do me the professional courtesy of giving me a yes or no by the time this is done. Great. So just so you know, the next steps to move forward from here, it takes about 10 minutes. I just need this, and we'll get you set up. I take care of all of it. I just need this information from you. Can you get that to me real quick? Oh, sweet. Yeah, that's switching insurance. By the way, when I switch insurance stuff over, it's insane to me how easy it is. Like literally just an email, a couple phone calls. Okay, great. And I'm, get an email. Hey, congratulations, you're enrolled with fill in the blank company now. We all know it's not hard. We just have to get out in front of that and let that client know this isn't going to be a big deal. Waiting for renewal. And you're right, Colton, he really hit that nail on the head there, where it's like, just because you paid for a subpar product, why would you continue to be okay with a subpar product if you know that something else is available here? Right? Because that is the worst case scenario. You have insurance because we don't know when or if something could happen. We try to protect against the unknown. Well, if it's unknown, it could happen after this call when you're going to get groceries. You get a fender bender, get in a wreck, someone could run a red light. Hurricane season could come early, right? Whatever's happening, whatever that thing is. It's hail season right now, and then we get hurricanes later in the year. What's the worst case scenario if you had an opportunity to upgrade your coverage and do this then, but you chose not to? And how is it going to feel if you have to file a claim with your old company knowing you were about to go with Farmers?
And then you come with us and your rates are higher because then you got a claim.
Exactly. And then you come with it.
And it probably wasn't a good claim. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Is it what? 100%. Right. And so just what I guess my key with that is I would hit really hard on the emotion of that decision and also why it's illogical. Right. Because what they're trying to tell you in that is like the objection they're trying to give you is that I want to do this and I'm going to do this, but this box needs to be checked beforehand. Right. And what you're saying is like, look, the key part here is that you just need to make the decision to go with us and then move forward. That's the logical thing to do here. Waiting is not smart. That's not logical. So if you've already made the decision to go with us, then we're just combating the timing on the thing. And here's why it makes sense to do this now. Right? That's actually when you learn how to handle that objection, that's actually a pretty powerful place to come from because they've already made the decision to work with you. Right? Now we're just fighting timing on that. So it's like, yes, but, and it's like, okay, why don't we do this instead? It's like, yeah, I'll go on a date with you, but in 6 months from now, it's like, let's not do that. What are you doing tonight? Right? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what? Like, that's great. I'm gonna use that in some content later. Right? Here's my point though. If you know that these 5 points are gonna come up, 6 points, whatever it is, 5, they're gonna come up in conversation, get out in front of them, handle them ahead of time with your client and explain to them why these are going to come up. Right? By the way, it's totally okay to say, look, we're not for everybody. And we're proud of the fact that we're not for everybody. We couldn't offer the service that we do if we were like everybody else. Right? Allstate, State Farm, we called them All Snake and Snake Farm when I was selling roofing, right? Policies are awful. They're looking for mass stuff. It's a race to the bottom. Trying to get as many people as they can, cast a wide net. And then when it comes time to pay out on stuff, they're notoriously difficult to deal with. Right, in a lot of cases, or they'd way underpay. I was telling Colton this. I've got a claim. I sold roofing for a little bit in Del Rio. There was after a hailstorm there, 4-inch hail comes through, smashes 90. They counted 92 or 94 broken tiles on this person's roof. Right, insurance company wrote for $200 less than a $5,000 deductible on the whole thing. Thankfully, they're working with us. We got them signed up with an attorney. They're in mediation today, and the attorneys are asking for $180,000 net to the contractor after the fees. They try to give them 40, try to say, hey, we're not going to give you any money. And by the way, it's less than your deductible. So you're 100% liable for every single part of this. It's ridiculous, right? And so now there's people on both sides. There are contractors that try and create damage. Yes, okay. There's bad actors on both parties here. But it's important to understand that is like, those are real world scenarios where it's like, if you guys had just bought the roof the way you're supposed to, or given us a decent repairability factor, give us a chance to try and repair it, you'd be out probably 30, 40 grand. We would have done the job. Everyone would have gone home happy. But now because you did this and you decided you won't play ball this way, we're going to come after you for 200K. Right? And they're signed with the best attorneys in the industry, so I'm kind of excited to hear how this turns out. Right? Makes sense on this, handling objections. Key takeaways here. Handle from a position of strength, get out in front of it. The other piece here too that I'm going to talk about very quickly, isolate the objection. Right? We need to know exactly what is holding them back from doing this. Has anyone ever had it before? Oh yeah, well I just need to talk to my wife. Okay, great. Yeah, I completely understand. Right? And all of a sudden their wife walks in and all things. Oh, well actually it's this. And all of a sudden another objection comes out or something else comes because we didn't narrow it down to what is actually holding them back from doing it. If it's, oh yeah, you guys are just more expensive than everybody else. The great question to ask is, okay, well aside from the price, how else do you feel about everything else that we talked about? Let's just throw price out the window for a second. How do you feel about what we talked about today? Do you feel this is adequate? Would it meet your needs? Would you be excited to work with a company that offers these things? Great. So let me ask you this then, sir, or ma'am. If that's the case and you expect all these things, is it really fair as a company to expect somebody to provide the top best in class service and payouts with as little money as possible coming in and the lowest possible rates? Is it possible for those two things to exist at the same time? Most likely going to be no. Great. So what does that tell you about every other low cut rate insurance company out there? They're probably going to try to cut corners. Exactly. Right. So let me ask you this. If the potential downside to you, the cost is a few $100 a year, right? Whatever the difference is in their quotes. And the upside is knowing you have peace of mind, security, you're going to get great service, we're going to pay out well on time whenever something does happen, if you ever have to use the policy. And we're going to make sure you're properly insured through the whole thing. Don't you think that's worth a couple $100 a year just for that peace of mind by itself? You do? Great. What's stopping us from moving forward today? Right? What's actually going on? Because when you can start to logically attack that, but it only works if this is the only thing that we're trying to handle. Don't try to handle 3, 4, 5 objections all at one time. Narrow it down, because here's the reality, guys. It's always objections in one of two things. I'm gonna write this. I'm gonna put some stuff. It's either not the right package, or it's not the right price. Universally, right? I've had people fight me on this before. I very much believe this. It's either not the right package, meaning we're not selling them what they absolutely need, or we've done a crappy job as a salesperson explaining why they need what we're presenting to them, right? This is on us. We need to make sure that this is exactly what they do need. Here's why they do it. They understand why it is they need that particular coverage, right? When I say not the right price, I mean not the right price for them to take action this very second today. Sometimes the price is right, but they got to get a decision maker involved, right? In order to make a decision like that, and that's the way things handle there. Okay, great. That doesn't mean they're going to say no to your product or service. What it does mean is that they need to have this person involved in order to do that, right? So again, key of getting the decision maker, whoever that is, or however they make decisions, getting them in the room together to have that conversation and have that discussion, right? So when I say not the right price, I mean not the right price for them to buy on the spot right this second. They don't feel comfortable starting there for whatever reason. If we can identify which one of these it is, then we can start to actually handle those. At the right package, do your job better, right? Not the right price, get in front of the decision maker. And if it's still too expensive and we haven't done our job showing value in things, and quite frankly, they're probably not your client, right? I can promise you this, guys. If you have to drag somebody to it, you'll drag them through it. If they're going to fight you over $100 a month, $30 a month, a few $100s a year over exponentially better service, they're going to be a problem from day one. I promise you, right? It's not worth the headache. Go find somebody else. Everybody got this so far? Any questions? I know I'm moving kind of quick on this. Crystal, how you doing today? Doing good?
Yeah, I'm good. No questions.
Perfect. All right. All right. So let's move into, we got a few minutes left here. Let's talk follow-up. All right. All right, Colton, you got some really large erasers here. Is that, is
Let
anybody,
me get you a paper towel.
no, good. If you, yeah, it's fine. Let's erase some of the stuff.
We don't have rice much.
I'd recommend,
Yeah.
I'd recommend taking, do you have a picture of this, by the way, or no?
Oh, this.
I'd recommend taking a picture of this so you guys are referred to. And then again, you'll have the access to the recording on this one as well. Right. But put it on the camera angle that there's some lights and there's some, reflection. Right. Cool. Sorry, everybody have this decision making. My bad. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna take you up on that. All right. Cool. So let's talk follow-up for a second here. Okay. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make with follow-up is they do so without intention.
I really like this for my son. If you know about the reference you're talking about.
So the purpose of of a sales call. This cool, got a little handprint on that. Turning 30 this year. I'm still right. So
Only on the birth certificate.
yeah. So follow-up has an intention, right? Your sales call and every single part of your sales process should have an intention behind it. If you can't articulate what that intention is, then you need to revisit and see, does that even need to be part of my sales process, right? Professionals know exactly why they're saying what they're saying, how they're saying it, who they're saying it to. And at times you will probably sound somewhat like a broken record. That's totally okay, right? Give yourself the best possible chance of handling every objection. Give yourself the best possible pitch that you can do and just run that thing nonstop. Sales is a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's run in short bursts from time to time, but it is a marathon. Get what is best in place and then just do it consistently. It's not, people, one thing that I would encourage you all to focus on as well, side note here, is nuance versus novelty. What do I mean by this? Novelty, something's new, it's novel, it's never before seen, never before done. Go to a sales conference, learn a new sales technique, right? Get really, really excited. Here's this great new thing, right? I'm gonna go use this. And what happens? You come back to the office, you start using it, and you're really freaking excited about it because it's new, and the person that sells way more than you do taught you on stage. So now you want to go back and use it. Great. And you probably start getting results with it. And what happens as soon as that energy and momentum wanes? You stop getting sales. Oh crap, well now the script's no good. Really?
Fall back to the same habits.
Exactly. Or you go try to find the next thing. So your energy ends up looking something like this. I get really, really excited about it. And I think it's kind of okay. The script sucks. Let me go find a new script. This one's okay. It kind of sucks. Let me find a new script. And you do this. It's a yo-yo, right? People that succeed in sales are even kilter. Doesn't matter. So what I mean by that is find the best possible chance and give yourself the best possible chance of getting that order, getting that sale, getting that script done and executing it well, and get really, really deeply, intimately familiar with every single part of it, why it works. Why are you saying this? What am I looking for out of the customer as I'm saying this? Where am I going to go from here? If they say this in this piece, what are they actually asking for based on the information I've given them? Right? There's a lot of things than this. I love sales. I love sales psychology, so I can go down a lot of rabbit holes here, but I'm going to try to stick to it. I've got about 10, 15 minutes left, so I'm going to try to make sure we get to this.
I have a quick question.
Hit me.
So I've been getting a lot of people hitting me up on like direct messenger or private message or whatever, like on social media. After like I'll make a post or video or something like that. So is the best thing to get them on the phone or meeting in person? Like how would I frame that? Because they'll I guess they're basically sending me the inquiries. So once they make an inquiry, what's my response to their private message?
Great question. So wherever you're strongest and wherever you can adapt and try to get them to, right? So for example, if they're like a close friend or someone you see relatively often, let's say, hey, I'm actually going to be, why don't I come over to the house? We'll have a glass of wine and I'll just kind of give you the bare bones of it. We can hang out and kind of catch up, right? If it's someone that maybe is just that you wouldn't see normally and they're reaching out specifically about that, I would ask, hey, do you have time for like a 5 to 10 minute phone call just so I can get some information from you and give you what you need, right? Frame it as something that's very, very quick. And also I would really strongly recommend handling that as close to in person as possible, because something as simple as like, oh, well, basically they have to respond whenever you're talking to them. Otherwise it's just weird. Like you wouldn't ask somebody a question, they just stare at you for like 2 hours, right? In text messaging, that happens all the time. You send someone to somebody, they're busy. Oh crap, let me come back to it, right? Emotion's gone. So if I were in your shoes, I would push for a phone call but just let them know it's super quick and no pressure. Hey, do you have, yes, absolutely would love to help you with that. I need some basic information from you. When's a good time for me to call just for 5 minutes at some point today? Right. And shoot that over to them. If I were in your shoes, I'd get them on the phone. Great question.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So wrap up here. Follow-up has an intention. Your sales process has an intention. It's to take somebody from a prospect to a client, from a prospect to a customer of yours, right? To do that. So one thing I want everybody here to be very, very careful of. Are you going to be able to get 100%, a yes or a no on that first phone call or closing call, whatever that is, 100% of the time? No. It'd be nice if you could. Should you be able to get 80, 90% when you get really, really good at this? If you're doing your job correctly, I would say probably 80% plus is a good number to shoot for, right? A yes or a no at the end of that call. Follow-up is a part of the game. On some of these, it's going to take 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 touches to get in touch with somebody, right? That tile roof that I was talking about today, I literally went back to that guy's house, I kid you not, probably once or twice a day for like 10 days straight. I probably knocked on his door 10 to 15 times. Knew what car his kid drove by the time it was all said and done, did this. We did the inspection, he wasn't even at the house, had to set something up with his wife and stuff. And it was at a big neighborhood that was really starting to get run over by roofers. His two of his neighbors in that same street also had big tile roofs that other people had gotten the job on, but no one could lock him down. And because I was freaking persistent, he called me, hey, I'm not at the house right now. Great, it's fine, I'll come to you. Where are you at? Oh, I'm over at this address, right? Great, showed up, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Showed up, did it, got the job. If this thing ends up going through, it'll be about a $20,000 commission by the time I'm setting it up. But I never would have had that 2.5 years later, which is another conversation. But I never would have had that opportunity if I wasn't consistent and persistent with him, right? Didn't have a phone number first. All I got to do is go knock on the door. Hey, how's it going? Jose, you're going to see me. Jose told me to come by later. Right? Hey, I'm sorry. Oh, he's not here right now. Great. I've got a cell phone number. Is there a way to get in touch with them? He told me to leave this for him. Okay, awesome. Right? Get to know the people's names. Hey, I forget his son's name now, but spoke to your son earlier. Right? Name drop him. Start to actually follow through with this. Anyway, follow up. It has an intention. The purpose of following up is to get to a yes or a no. It's not to just check in with somebody, see how they're doing, see what they're feeling. Hey, purpose of a sales call, I want you to buy this stuff. Are you buying? Yes or no? If for some reason you can't make a decision right there, following up should be with the same purpose. Did I give you enough time? Did I give you enough information? Did you do your research? Whatever it is you need to do. But the purpose of this call should be for us to arrive at a yes or a no by the time it's all said and done. Right? Now, how do we go about doing that? You got to be pleasantly persistent. Right? If you just send the same text message every single day at the same time, copied and pasted, what's going to happen on their phone? You're going to get 7 messages from the same person. Hey, this is so-and-so, this is Dion just following up. Want to check in with you, see if you had time to look at the quote I sent over, right? That's what every salesperson does in some capacity, right? We need to know exactly what was holding them back. It's okay to even challenge that when we're handling objections and say, hey, cool, when would you like me to follow? Yeah, totally understand. When would you like me to follow up with you? By the way, great question to ask. Get very specific about when you have their permission to follow up with them. When would you like me to follow up with you? Oh, Friday. Great. Sir, respectfully, ma'am, respectfully, if you don't mind my asking, what's going to happen? What's the difference between now and Friday? What's going to change between now and then? And sometimes it's legitimate. It's like, look, my partner works a traveling job. They're out of town. They're visiting family, blah, blah, blah. We want to talk about this in person. We'll go over it. We want to go over, they get back on Wednesday night. We'd like a day to talk about it. And we'll have an answer for you by Friday. That to me is a lot more legitimate than something along the lines of, oh yeah, well, just call me back next week. It's like, if you don't mind my asking what's going to happen between now and next week, what's going to change as far as making a decision on this? We just want some time. It's like, great, I totally understand. So it's okay to take time to make decisions like this. Out of curiosity, like, would sometime like tomorrow afternoon be available? Like, would 24 hours be enough time to think about this and make a decision? We can challenge whatever time frame they're giving us, unless it's like, I'm going on vacation, I want to think about this, follow up with me whenever I'm back, right? There's different scenarios that can come in, but I would, as much as possible, would challenge what's going to change. And if their answer is, well, nothing really changes. It's like, okay. So if you don't mind my asking, is there any reason why we couldn't make this decision today? Or what's holding us back from doing this right now? Right? And it's just very calm. It's very just like, hey, like, what's happening? Let's just challenge whatever objections they're giving us, right? Because we all know what's going to happen. Call me next Friday. Then the kids do something. They got to sleep over. Then whatever's happening, oh, there's just too much going on. It's like, great. By the way, it only takes 15 minutes to get this done. 5 minutes, actually, if you can just give me this, and I'll call you back with the results. That's the advantage of using farmers. All right, it doesn't take 2 hours to get this done. Oh, well, yeah, actually, call me. My wife's home in like an hour. Call me at like 7. Right? Great. That's fine and reasonable. But we're pushing that. So again, follow-up has an intention with this. Now, I'm going to go over a few different categories of things because I think the way that most people choose to follow up with their clients or prospects, especially in today's world, is almost exclusively It's almost exclusively text and or phone calls, right? Does that sound pretty standard? It is with most people, right? There's methods to this. And a few of these that are a little bit different, and that's good. It's okay to challenge somebody, even if it means you get to a no. I'd rather have a no than a maybe, right? So phone call, obvious, right? Pick up the phone and call them. Texting works. I would recommend texting only after you called them at least once. That's just me, right? Why? A lot of people will default to, I don't feel comfortable talking to these people, so I'm going to do my job by sending a text message, right? Or copy and paste it because I've got a script to send it a template, right? It's a cop out, right? Try to get them on the phone if you can. Text works. This one is kind of what I would call a secret weapon. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like this. I never even thought about it.
Or gifts, right? Emojis as well, right? Work on some of these things. Be human. Most of the time, what I see is when people start trying to be professional or are being professional, it becomes sterile. They forget that what is business actually? It's human to human connection interaction. Money exchanges hands when problems are solved, right? But you're helping another person. And especially if you want to build a lifelong relationship and with this client, if you want them to come to you for the next 20, 30 years for all their insurance needs, it's okay to be funny, show some personality, right? Get along with them. Or if you want it to be, it can always be, oh yeah, yes, absolutely, yes sir, we'll get right on that. Yes ma'am, we'll get right on that, right? I'd rather have fun with it. I'd rather send them a picture, hey, by the way, here's me and my wife at the Astros game. All right, let's go Stros. Oh, you're a Dodgers fan? Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do business together anymore, right? Whatever that, you can joke them about stuff like that, and they're like, oh, okay. Just give them shit. And if I were you, do y'all have a CRM that you use or a way to take client notes in capacity?
Oh yeah, we do have one. We have another one that's about to basically taken over 100%, but there's notes should be constantly.
Make a note in your CRM system, right? Hey, I can't meet this week. Got to move it. My kid's having a birthday party, right? Or it's my kid's 5th birthday, whatever it is. Great. What's your kid's name? Awesome. Send them a handwritten card. 55 seconds, $80 at the post office, right? Send a card to them. Hey, happy birthday to the family. Hope everyone's doing well. Oh, me, as always, if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. All right, I'm in your corner. Great, thanks. Send. Oh, it's my wife and I's anniversary, right? They're a really, really good client. They've been with you for a long time. Have a bottle of wine sent to the restaurant, sent to the table on your behalf, right? 40, 50 bucks, something like that. Take care of it for you. When you're first getting started, I'd recommend staying with handwritten notes. They mean a lot more to begin with. Not very many people do them, and they know it requires effort for you to get that done. As you start to build your business, send out cards, we'll do it. And it looks handwritten, it's $1. So, yeah. And mass human interaction, if you will.
Yeah, them two ain't writing nothing. Actually, you're probably. No, I can read yours.
He can't write anything.
Do you have good handwriting?
He has good handwriting.
I thought you had bad. Oh no, you're the one that has the
No,
great handwriting.
Dion has good handwriting.
I just can't spell.
Yeah, that's what I
You just
said.
can't spell anything.
I'm just mediocre at best.
Yeah,
By
I
the
can
way,
read
if you
yours.
can't spell it 100%, you spell check on stuff. Because,
Yeah.
No, I'm his spell check.
okay, I was gonna say, because the last thing you want is like, hey, I want you to cover my $1 million home and all this other stuff, and you got like misspelled words and the handwritten that are coming in. It's like, ooh, okay, make sure it's good, right?
He'd be like, no, my
That's right, yeah, you got it. It's just.
grandson wrote that.
Right? Email and then physical mail. These two are my favorites by far, especially today. All right. Phone call, pretty standard, right? I would incorporate some kind of verbiage. Hey, calling you back as promised on this day as time, right? And make sure if you tell them you're going to call them Friday at noon, call them Friday at 12:00, right? ASAP on that, 11:59 if you can. But you got about a 120-second window. If you told them you're going to call them this time, then you call them and do it, right? Why? You're proving to them that you are going to do what you tell them you're going to do. You can count on me. So if I'm telling you this about my insurance and everything else, I would do something. And quite frankly, to frame it for other people, there would literally be times when I call somebody at 12:07 if I told them it was noon, because it's just life and happens. Hey, I'm so sorry I didn't call you right at noon. I'm running behind today. Completely my fault. I apologize. They're like, dude, it's like 5 minutes. Like, calm down. You're good. Like, everything's okay, right? But when you show them that you have that level of attention to detail for a product or service as important as insurance, that puts a feather in your cap. oh wait, I can trust this person. If they tell me this is gonna happen, I can trust that. I can take that to the bank, right? Text messages,
There you
knock
go.
over you and your dog. I'm just beating up your office today. Carl.
Carly, she knows how to attack.
She'd come in.
Text message. I'm gonna say in the whole thing too. Vary your texts. And I would take notes on the whole thing as well. Take notes on every interaction. Why are they not buying right now? Why do they need to follow up? And I would address that in text message. Hey, Colton, following up with you as promised here on Friday. I know last time we spoke with this, and this were happening. And you wanted me to follow up today because you said you had time to get that done. Wanted to check in with you, see if you felt confident, had enough information and felt confident making a decision. Right? So note is very different than how you feeling about the package we talked about. Right? I don't know. I don't care about your feelings. Do you have enough information and confidence to make a decision?
You don't want like do a quick, simple text. You want to put a bunch of detail in it.
I would try to show them that you're paying as much attention to detail as possible, right? It's okay to include your personality in that. Hey Colton, hope Astros game is going great. Yo, Colton, what's up, dude? Hey, listen, Jonathan Collin wanted to check in with you. A lot of it, I would say, depends on the rapport you have with the client during the call. If they're super professional and want to be very straightforward, I would articulate the text that way. If they're much more relaxed, seem like type of person, oh yeah, we're going on late this weekend, probably gotta be hungover on Monday, don't call me then, right? Hey dude, got some Electrolyte with your name on it, got some Pedialyte with your name on it, hope the hangover's not killing you, want to check in on this, right? Whatever that is, right? So match whatever their energy is. These two are two of my favorites, right? Self-recorded videos. Driving by somebody, it could literally be something you're in the car, didn't have to be like it's a super intent, like you're sitting behind a desk or anything. It could literally be something as simple. Put your phone out, driving down the highway. Hey Jim, I was driving down the highway just now, saw a wreck on the side of the road. Quite frankly, just made me think about some of the consequences of what happens. I hope they're covered. Hopefully they're the farmer's customer. Anyway, I know you wanted me to follow up with you on that this week. Just want to check in with you, see how things are going. If still don't have the information you need, no rush. I just want to check in with you. Let me know how you're feeling. Let's talk soon. Boom, send. So what happens to them is they're in the middle of the workday, instead of getting a text, they can do whatever. They get a video recording of you talking to them. It's different, right? You want to make yourself different than that. One of my favorite memes is it's Cookie Monster. If I send a text to somebody, they're not responding, and he's literally sitting on a desk like this and just like tapping his fingers, right? Or there's the ones that I've seen online. They're like, just checking in, or me just, it's a Pablo Escobar meme of him just like sitting there by himself, with his hands behind his back and stuff. And it's like me over here waiting for you to text me back, right? And stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. And it can be, make it funny within things there, but you can kind of challenge whatever that is, right? I've seen one before. I sent one to someone the other day that was like, you there? And it was like Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura, doing like 35 different, like can't like looking in depth at eyes and stuff. Right. So point being, you can make it fun. You know, say it's okay. If someone's on it, it's okay to call them on that. Email works. A great question, by the way, on a lot of these things. If you followed up with somebody like 4, 5, 6 times and there's zero response whatsoever, they're ghosting you. A great question to ask is like, hey, is this something that should we continue to follow up? My manager's asking what we need to do with the file. Is it still something you're interested in? Please let me know either way. If not, we'll close it next week. Right? What I would do in that scenario, send an email, put a note in your calendar, follow up with them in 3 months, whatever it is, right? And I would call them randomly. Hey, I know nothing ended up happening last time. Totally understand. Life gets kind of crazy. Just want to see if this is still something you're interested in, if we can close the file out from our CRM. Nah, I'm good. I decided to go in the direction. Great. Question. Would you ever be open to get another quote in the future? Awesome. When would you like me to follow up with you on that? Right? Is it no, not right now? Is it no, why? Even something as simple as that, like, would you like me to do this? Because at a certain point, I've had people that are like, you called me 12 times. What do you want? Like, I'm just going to go with you, so you'll quit bugging me and the whole thing. And it's like, well, you told me to follow up with you. You told me to do this. I'm doing what you told me to do. So I don't know why you're upset with me, but I'll take credit card, please. Thanks. Appreciate that. Right? My point with this, guys, is that follow-up has an intention. There's different methods you can go about doing this. These two are some of my favorite. What it really comes down to is, can you differentiate yourself? Now, physical mail, I would leave as a last resort, and or I would save that for like gold group clients, like your top 20% of customers, your whales, the people that are really going to like invest in you. But sending them a handwritten note, right? If they sent you an address or whatever it was, right? You can do physical mail pieces through, there's a difference in, I would say, blanket marketing and like specifically targeting somebody. At that point, I would say it really depends on your interaction you've had with the customer. What is the relationship like? What have they told you about them and their family? What really matters to them, right? You know, within that, find something silly you can drop in the mailbox, you can mail to them, right? Pretty much all this stuff, you already, if you have a phone in your hand or a phone in your name, you can run pretty much 5 out of these 6, right? I recommend it pretty strongly. The point though, and what I really keep coming back to in all this, the purpose of follow-up is not to follow up. The purpose of follow-up is to get to an answer. Are we doing this or are we not doing this? If we're not doing this, totally fine, but I need to know because I got other stuff to do. No? Hey, great, totally understand. Would you ever like me to reach out in the future? Is it something that you just don't really see yourself ever using farmers for? You know, I don't ever see myself using farmers for. Great, totally understand. Sorry we couldn't help you this time. Doors open. Feel free to save my number if you need anything. Thanks. See you never. Right? I think that's one thing, and I'll finish with this. If there's one thing that salespeople that I see them struggle with when it comes to follow-up, it's not having an intention behind what the follow-up is. And also being afraid, they're afraid of no, and they're afraid to challenge things and be very intentional with the conversation, right? The whole purpose of a sales presentation is to sell something and reach a buying decision, yes or no. It's okay to call people on that. Well, I just want to think about it. Great, what do you want to think about? Then why am I asking, what is it you're so uncertain of? What's holding you back from moving forward today? Like, it's not rocket science. Oh, they need to talk to their spouse about what? 30 bucks a month? Like, come on. It's not that big of a deal, is what I'm saying. If it was like a 300,000, which house they're gonna buy? Big deal. Take your time. Think about that one. You want to buy a, you know, $200,000 boat? Probably better make sure that both parties are involved, right? If you're not buying it by yourself. Spending $100 more a month on insurance to get the right insurance and things, not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. And they've already got to do it. All right. So what you're really selling is why your margin, the margin between you and the next closest competitor, is worth it in the value they receive if they ever have to use a product or service. So you're not, so let's say it's a $400 a month product and your competitor is a $330 a month product, right? You're not selling a $400 a month product. You're selling a $70 gap for why they should go with you. Especially in an industry where it's mandatory. Does that make sense? I wasn't intending on going there or going that deep on that, but that was.
I like that.
Right. And thinking about this for a second, the value that you get with farmers versus other agencies and other insurances is, I would even tell that to clients, quite frankly, if you get to that point in the sales process, like, oh, they're cheaper. It's like, great, how much cheaper are they? $100. Awesome. So what's really important to you aside from just price and insurance? Do you think that to get all the things that you just mentioned, is that worth paying another $100 a month? If I can guarantee you get that. Yes, great. Let me show you how we can. Right, because at this point, like, that's the thing, is in that scenario, the 330 is already spent, period, point blank. They're going to spend that somewhere with somebody. That's a sunk cost, right? So now the actual sale is, why should they spend X number of dollars more with you to get Y benefit, which your benefit should way outweigh pretty much everybody else in the industry. So sell them on why that's better and why that is worth $70, not $400 a month or not $5,000 a year, not whatever, right? That's a sunk cost. Sell the gap in between and sell your value associated with that gap. If you do that, things will take off. Cool. Awesome. Any questions? I know I covered a lot today. I was going to try to say 30 to 45 minutes. I went an hour. So that's kind of my MO in a lot of ways, but I love talking about this stuff.
Very good info, man.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, that was awesome.
Happy to help you guys. Any questions on anything, any scenarios that have come up that you'd like a little more insight on? Anything like that?
I feel like something's turning in there.
I was just trying to think if there was any questions. You did a pretty solid job.
I just really like that end, man. I've never really thought of it in that perspective of selling the gap.
Yeah, selling the gap versus selling on the price.
That's, I mean, it
Okay,
comes down to
you're
farm.
already paying.
Yeah.
It's something you have to have.
Mhm.
So you're selling, you know, why our product is, it's just the
70
gap. You're not, yeah, it's,
$70 looks
yeah,
like
the money's already paid.
Mhm.
So for an extra, yeah, $70, let me tell you why.
Well,
It's
why we're
better.
worth the
Why we're
$70
worth it.
more.
Yeah.
100%, man. It's the same thing of like, if you have to check the box of a car. You get a $2,500 clunker, you could buy a $25,000 new, whatever it is, right? Well, why? If If I just need to get A to B at the cheapest possible rate, then yeah, I would just go get the POS clunker and buy one off some college kid for $2,000 or $900, whatever it's, right? But you don't. Do you drive that? No, you don't. You drive something else. Why do you drive something else? Well, because this were worth that difference in price to me. Knowing that I had something that was dependable, that I could trust, that I enjoyed driving, etc. Right. So the difference though is that y'all are selling massive value upside with minimal cost to consumer. Right. In a hypothetical situation where let's also put it this way, in the worst possible, like if they have to do something with their roof, if their home catches on fire, they get in a car wreck, it's probably going to be like top 10 worst days of their life, I would imagine, right? Top 20, somewhere, depending on what they've had going on. And when you're already dealing with one of the worst days of your life, do you really want to have to add in fighting with your insurance company on the list of things to do? No. Great. Do you think that's worth another $70 a month? Awesome. Me too. That's why I sell farmers.
That stuff, I mean, when you say stuff like that and you say those different things like the Astros and making it personable, 9 times out of 10, the other people they've spoken with, because again, you become just a salesman. You sound more personal. There's someone you want to talk to and have that rapport compared to you just sound like the car salesman, you sound like the house salesman, you sound like you sound like everybody when it comes to just making it sell. So whenever you say things like that, it becomes very direct. They've never been hit by that. Going through the coverages, explaining those different things. So that's where you really have to. And again, he said it, I think it was like the first thing you said, maybe the second. Where'd it go? If you intend to implement this, again, words are words. If you don't implement it, you got to take it and run with it. You really have to.
100%. The great thing about this, by the way, guys, pre-framed by themselves, like single-handedly shifted the trajectory of my sales career. It was nuts, right? It's amazing how efficient you can get with your time and how power-packed each conversation can be if you implement this correctly. When you start to really get up, you tie these two in. And again, part of the reason when Colton and I were talking, he originally said these two were kind of where you guys could probably use the most support right now. Pre-framed were the things that I was like, follow-up really, we should be able to avoid follow-up most of the time if we're doing this correctly. And even if we do need to get into the cycle, there's different methods and things, but we should be able to address that and make it easier if we frame the conversation from the very beginning. Right? Do I have your permission to follow up to you on that time? Yes, you do. Okay, great. Well, now I'm not the guy that's calling you and hounding you. Now I'm the one that you told me to call you. So if you're upset about this, I'm sorry that I did what you told me I should do. Right? I did what I said. Get out in front of the objections, handle them up front. Quite frankly, go make a list of the top 5 that we listed out here today. How do you handle them, right? How do you tell people about them before they ever get a chance to bring them to you? And can you do that consistently? And then when it does come to follow up, my biggest tip would be not only have an intention, but be personal with it, right? Someone calls you, hey, I got a quick question on something like that. If you're out on a boat or something like that, I would literally send them a picture of you on a boat and be like, hey, sorry for taking so long, out on a boat with some friends, but I can text, how can I help? And you'd be amazed how many times like, oh, hey, enjoy. We went out last weekend, blah, blah, blah. And like if they're into that same type of thing, okay, great. If you're going golfing, right? Hey, on the course right now, but happy to help. Give me 1 second, right? It's okay to tell people that. I think we think we have to be attached to our phones and available 24/7. That's BS. You're human. It's okay to be human. They do the same thing with their families, right? And also, quite frankly, it gives you a talking point next time. Hey, sorry, I shot 30 over last time. Got to work on my game, right? Do you golf? No? Okay, well, don't recommend it if you're going to shoot like me. So we'll go from that, right? Whatever it is. But let them get to know you and then make it personal with things there. These two are really funny because they're not used to that. So I would encourage you to take whatever everybody else is doing and find a way to tweak it and make it your own, or find a way to be different and stand out. Right? There's a guy in the roofing industry. His name's Deshaun something. I don't remember his name, but he's branded himself as the roof hustler, and he wears a polo tucked into like golf shorts and a bow tie. He's out in the doors knocking with people. Right? He's got a brand. Really, really funny guys. Like was it hustle smart, hustle hard, don't be afraid to Beauregard. Right? And it's like that's his saying that he goes on with people. It was kind of funny because like in roofing, there's a lot of blue collar guys who's like, you got a problem, pull up, But my point though is that it's personal. It's different than what people have seen before. He's got his own brand, his own thing that people can then start to buy into. Why should somebody buy from Dion versus Isaiah versus Colton? You're gonna mesh with different people, right? Everybody is. That's the case. But if you show your personality more, you're gonna actually attract a lot more clients. Like, I really like what they've got going on. I'm gonna go talk to them. You're gonna get my business because you did X, Y, Z. Make sense? Cool. guys, I would at some point, say I got a jet here, but would love to hear some of y'all's top takeaways. If we could just do like a really quick, like 2 or 3 people popcorn favorite thing from today, or number 1 takeaway that you took from our training today.
I'm gonna say it before anybody else does. The ending, the
Smart.
gap coverage. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was too cool. I just wasn't prepared for that. You were just kind of going down, and all of it was great, but that's gonna stick with me.
Awesome.
So I love that.
Yeah, especially in an industry where it's mandatory.
Right.
Right. That's really like if there's a sunk cost associated with XYZ thing that's happening. It's the same thing. Like if someone walks into a car dealership and say they've got a $50,000 budget, they want to buy a new truck, whatever it is, right? If I'm trying to sell them a $60,000 truck, I'm not selling them a $60,000 truck. I'm selling them the gap in between these and why it's worth it for them to do it, because that money's already spent. That's a great point, though. I was thinking about that as I said, is like I've known that for a while, but I never put it that way. That's actually really good. So that's very good. Cool. A couple others.
The pre-framing in general, I don't pre-frame at all. I don't think. I'm just like ask my questions and I know what I'm gonna do, but I think pre-framing is something I need to start doing. It's like I said, I don't do it at all. It'll at least help me move the conversation along because I know what I gotta get through and stuff like that.
Well, you played basketball. Did you guys have practice plans?
Yeah, I mean,
Like at Torleson, we had practice schedules. We'd get there, we'd see what we were doing for the day, broken by time, and it sets your whole mentality and attitude different. It's the same thing with this. It's just you're telling them what's about to happen, and as you go through, you're like, okay, great. Then you throw in a curveball, and you're like, dang,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
long rolls. That's not on the practice list, coach. I don't think that was on there.
Exactly. Yeah. Those were so many ways. Sorry, bring back some bad memories. Anyway, but yeah, he's got an excellent point though, right? Of like, and again, it also serves to build. Let's further that point. It also serves to build trust throughout the process with clients, right? Because hey, I told you this is what's going to happen, and then now this is happening. Exactly what I told you was going to happen. This is. I showed up when I said I was going to. I told you what was going to happen. I did everything I told you I was going to do. I explained things very clearly. There's a lot of trust that gets built even subconsciously and subliminally with that person when you're doing that. All right, and it's not that hard to do. That, by the way, the easiest part to implement all this, start using these, and I guarantee you're going to start to get rid of some objections. Things are going to start to get easier for you. Like it's so simple and so powerful when we actually start to implement this at a high level. Cool. Anybody, one last takeaway. I'd love to hear one from maybe someone on Zoom. I know, Dion. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to shout. Dion,
So John, I was going to point out the texting that you talked about, because we had a CRM in the office that we were using. The way the CRM worked was it would send a text out automatically saying, hey, we're working on your auto quote. Do you prefer call or text message? And then almost, 80% of the time they would come back with a text message. And then the second automated text it would send, it was the price. So like the quote that we had worked on, it would ask us to pre-fill that dollar amount, and it would send that message out. And so it was doing this for all our leads. And now that we were saying avoid like the scripted text, like now that we've taken texting back in our hands and we have full control of it, we're able to be more personable versus that system that was doing it for us, where it took out, I believe it just felt like it took out our credibility as an agency.
Yeah, it takes away the personal element as well, which is a big part of it, right? Like that's the thing is like, because everyone needs insurance, the advantage is that everyone needs it. The disadvantage is that it's harder to differentiate yourself and be different for why someone should work with you specifically. So doing that, by the way, voice memo is another one that I include in text. So just like send it really quick, something they can't just like read in a meeting and forget about, something they actually have to take time to listen to or engage with. I would recommend, but yeah, I would recommend doing the text on a personal level. And quite frankly, even if they said text message, send them a text and say, hey, I've got your quote here. Had one really quick question though with everything. Is there a time I could give you a call for just like 5 minutes? Right. And then try to get them on the phone to start to explain it. Once you get a yes and get their permission to go into that, then you should be good. Because if they know that you're not going to take 30 minutes, if you ask for 5 to 10, you can take up to probably 10 to 20, 15 to 20 if you really need to. And if they're busy, then they'll tell you out the gate, hey, like, I'm sorry, I got to run, on this whole thing. Right. Is there a time we could go over all this? Okay, great. There's a couple of things here I want to highlight. Boom, boom, boom. Is now a good time to talk about those? Or is there a time that maybe, how do you guys make decisions? I'll do it together. Okay, great. When's the time to actually talk about that? You want me to call you later this evening? Okay, awesome, right? And then go from there. Does that make sense? I kind of shotgun out of my mouth sometimes because I make the connection, but I don't.
No, that makes perfect sense. That and how you said earlier in the follow-up section, when you talked about articulating the sell, like the whole purpose of the follow-up, making sure you get a yes or a no, not just following up and this person, since you threw loopholes, you're back to square one pretty much.
Exactly, right? So it's got to have an intention with things there, and then making sure that, again, it's okay to press towards a decision, right? Especially with someone you don't know. It's like, look, like we can be friends if you want to, but like I didn't call you to be your friend. I called you to ask you when to buy insurance, right?
Yeah.
Like if we end up being friends throughout that process, that's great. Like we'd love to make a new friend, but that's not why I'm, that's not why I'm here, right? Or I'm not why I'm reaching out. I don't want to hang out with you. I want to sell you stuff. So are we buying or not?
Yeah.
Awesome. Dion, you had your hand raised as well.
So for me, the pre-framing aspect of asking for the sale, essentially with the courtesy of yes or no.
Mhm.
I try to ask for the sale at the beginning, but I feel like wording it like that definitely makes them think about it more. I can't remember how you worded it. But in that aspect of like, oh, well, like I owe it to this person to give them a yes or a no.
Yeah.
Professional courtesy.
Yeah.
You can ask for a professional courtesy on that one. That's a great point, by the way. And it's when you really start to get good at that, it's amazing how much that ties people in. You can even call them on it if they try to give you an objection. It's like, whoa, hey, I need to think about it. Whoa, time out. What else are you uncertain about? I'm just curious because I thought we'd said at the beginning that we would make a decision by the call today. What changed? Right? Oh, well, nothing changed. It's like you're respectfully calling them a liar without calling them a liar. So it's like, all right, are you gonna act in integrity with what you told me? Right? You start to leverage that a little bit. I'd be careful how much negative emotional pressure you put on people. It's okay to hold them accountable. I wouldn't make them feel terrible, unless I was petty sometimes. Like if someone completely wasted, if I asked them questions like that and they completely wasted my time and I lost sales somewhere else, I would make them feel it. But I don't recommend doing that. That was me personally.
I've gone and talked to the guy like 3 times after hours and like different things, like knew I was putting in that extra work. So then he's like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's all state. I can't remember. I wanted a motherfucking bad. I was just like, all right, bud.
Like, hey man, just out of curiosity, like if you really want to mess them, like, hey, so where should I send the invoice to? What do you mean? It's like, well, for my time, like, it's not, the first one was free and the next 2 have come to you after hours. Like, where,
my boss pays me 8 to 5, guy.
Yeah, listen, yeah. No, don't do it. I was gonna say that's really more, you got to be careful how you lead them to, because when someone has a negative experience, they'll tell that to like 20, 30, 40 people. If they have a good experience, you're likely to tell like 1 to 3 people. Right, somewhere in there. So
you mentioned it briefly, but it's the buyer guy. Like, hey, when can we talk in the future? Like, are you up to talking to people? It's like, it's always a possibility, even if it is bad like that. You know what I mean?
100%. And even something like that. By the way, one thing I would recommend for your office, Burley, is that I don't think many insurance companies are doing. You could put together like a quarterly email newsletter for everyone that you quoted but decided not to go with you. That was like top, hurricane season's coming, top 10 ways to hurricane proof your home, right? Or do this, and have one of those keys be like, make sure you have proper coverage on your home. Look for this exclusion, this exclusion, this exclusion, blah, blah. If you have any questions about this, call us, call our office, right? You can reach out to your agent at blah, blah, blah. Right, a value add during the year. It doesn't have to be every month. It could be every, most people renew every probably 3 to 6 months, 6 months to a year, somewhere in there. I would put something in place every 90 days. So it's hitting 4 times a year, hire a graphic designer to put the thing together, put some articles and stuff together, and then run that. But you talk about a follow-up sequence, that'd be easy. It'd be super easy to automate. And then you could even have it, if you're doing it for the whole agency, you could probably even do it to where it sent the email like it was coming from one of them individually, and just have their name and their face at the bottom and sent from their email. Right? It's worth looking into, guys. There's a lot of stuff in the digital marketing space that's very cost effective and really powerful as well. Cool. Well, guys, last piece here on my end. So I do sales training, I do sales coaching now. So you guys kind of got a little bit of a taste of the ice cream within this as well. With that, part of the reason I do trainings for groups like this is twofold. So one of them, Golden and I know each other for a while, played baseball together. Want to help you guys succeed and help him succeed as much as possible. The other piece, though, is that I actually do private sales training one-on-one, saying sales coaching, as well as for for organizations and for groups, I'm gonna say as well, right? So so for example, for someone like Crystal, you're running an office, if you'd like me to come in and work with a team, obviously we could talk about that and figure out what that actually looks like. I'd help support you guys. So if y'all ever have any questions about that, would love, more than happy to help you. If you'd ever like to reach out, my cell phone number is 979-219-0672. You also can find me on Facebook. So I have a Facebook group that I run. It's called My Leadership Legacy, Produce, Provide, Prosper. I'll put the name on here. Colton, if I could just text that to you and distribute that, that'd probably be great.
I can just show them on Facebook because I got it on there.
Perfect. So there's a bunch of free content and things like that on there. What I would really, really strongly recommend for each of you, investing in coaching is the single biggest thing that has moved the needle in my life consistently, right? Everything that we learned here, the combination of me hustling and figuring things out the hard way, more often than not, it was me paying somebody to shorten the learning curve, right? It's the single biggest investment that I've ever made. And it's also paid off the greatest long-term, because now I have the skill set to go and do that into perpetuity, right? Once you learn how to actually do it. So I really strongly recommend that. The other piece is that if you know anybody else as well that has, that's interested in coaching in capacity, or says, hey, I've thought about hiring a trainer, you know, on those lines, anyone that maybe, I work with pretty much with any direct to consumer, high ticket organization or salesperson. So roofing, solar, insurance, mortgage lenders, loan officers, you know, anything in that space, we're dealing directly with clients. And I say, if you would keep my name in mind, I'd really appreciate it. Wouldn't mind introducing me. And the best way to do that is just a three-way text with all three of us, and just say, hey, here's this Jonathan, he does this, you know, happy to connect. And I'm happy to even throw a referral bonus as well to you guys as thank you for that. So cool. With that, I'm gonna say I'm out. It was great seeing y'all. Thank y'all for being on the Zoom, and I'll get this recording up here soon. Yeah, Crystal.
I was gonna be super disappointed if you didn't try to sell us anything before you left.
I know, I was gonna say it for sure. Yes. Okay, if I'm gonna get your number from Colton, I'll set a follow-up call so we can talk about this. The goal by the end of that call is that we can actually make a decision on if you're going to be coaching together or not. And ABC, man.
I have a cleaning business, so I'm going to be in touch with you as well. You guys keep that in mind as well if you guys need me. I have a cleaning company for those homeowners that you have. Send them my way. If you guys, there's my cell. But I'm going to put together a few of my friends that are also owners, and we'll be in touch with you for sure.
I appreciate it for sure. My wife and I put our house on Airbnb. We're out of town and our cleaner just quit. So let's definitely connect.
Oh, I specialize in Airbnb. Call me. I'll send you my info.
All right. Sounds good. Talk soon.
All right. No problem. Bye.